Hello, and welcome to the first live actual play during the Kickstarter for Hit the Streets, Defend the Block. Hit the Streets, Defend the Block. If you're here and watching this, hopefully you're already looking at the Kickstarter page, but check the show notes if you want to jump over there and take a look at it. This is a street level supers game that I have been writing for a few months, based off of the excellent 1%er Outlaw Biker game by Creepy Doll Studios, but Hit the Streets, Defend the Block has been kind of refocused, dialed the lens in on street level supers, added in some new mechanics to help make it sing, and I'm very excited. Right now we have fourth players having a little tech difficulty, so hopefully David will be able to join us, but we have 3 players who are here, and we were going to go through the process of the setup. There's a 3-step kind of broad step for setting up Hit the Streets, Defend the Block characters and their neighborhood and their rivals. The rivals is usually the quickest step. We're going to be using a couple of slightly altered rules for one-shot play, although we're going to be playing multiple sessions here. I just want to highlight how you can run this at a con session, and that's by reducing the number of starting spark. So in the default game, which makes an assumption of a mini series of play, you'll be starting with a little bit more spark. We want to start with less spark to kind of grind the gears, push it a little bit, have these guys scrabbling for some awesome spark. So let me take a few moments to introduce the folks that are here, and then I'll have each of them say a quick hello so that you can tell who is who. So Joshua Gilworth and I have played 1%er several times, and I'm super excited to have him on board to try out Hit the Streets, Defend the Block. Joshua is an excellent role player who we may see here a crying baby in the background. Maybe he has a brand new daughter. Congratulations, Joshua, for that. That is awesome. Say hello to everybody.
Hey everyone, I'm very happy to be here. Hopefully no crying babies. She's asleep, so if it stays that way, we'll be good.
All right. Well, what's our window?
Oh, all the way till the morning, so we're safe.
Nice, dude. you lucked out. That is super cool. Well, I'm tell little B in the morning the thank you from me. Thanks so much, Joshua. And then next we have John Campbell, who's from Florida, where I just moved out of Florida. He was like my Florida buddy. We played a bunch of games, a lot of Star Wars Saturday games. He's like, well, I kind of call him like my Cheese Whiz player. He's the kind of person like when you add Cheese Whiz to any kind of food, it makes it a little bit better. That's John. I add John into a game. He can like drop in and drop out like out of nowhere. He just comes out of left field. We got an opening. John comes in. He's like that pinch hitter. He's like Kirk Gibby. He might be a little. Oh, I'm doing some baseball stuff. I'm sorry, you nerds don't want to hear about baseball. Hello, David. Welcome to the stream. I'm just doing some quick intros. I'm glad you got things worked out. So yeah, John is our Cheese Whiz / Kirk Gibson. So John is going to be here for all the session. I'm super excited about it. John, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful, Rich. So happy to be part of this. This looks really cool game, and I'm excited to play.
Awesome, fantastic. And so since David jumped in, David doing intros, David I've had the pleasure of playing David for a number of games. First time I think we played was way back when I was doing New Gauntlet City, or the Gauntlet City Limits, which was a lot of modern setting, shared city type deal. And recently we played some Masks, and then in Masks he took his same character from Masks and kind of reformulated that character for Demigods, which is currently live on Kickstarter as well. And so I love the way that you kind of kept the core of that character in, but you were able to re-envision them. I don't know if a giant rock monster works in Hit the Streets, Defend the Block, so we'll be making a new character, but boy, was I a fan, not a friend, because he's an imaginary person, and you can't be friends with imaginary people. That's what my therapist says. David, welcome to the game, and thanks for making some time to play with us, man.
Yeah, no problem. Pretty excited about this one too.
Fantastic.
Love superheroes.
Awesome. And then Yeah, well, you're a living superhero to me, man. I just can't wait to have you here. So we will be making characters in just a second. The last person I have to introduce, he needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. Chris is like the comics aficionado. In fact, if you see his avatar, and whenever we go bio break, you see his avatar. He's wearing like an X-Men hat. He is the man. He's played Hit the Streets, Defend the Block when we were developing it early on. He's been critical for feedback, and he's a heavy hitter, guys. So I'm super excited to have you aboard, Chris. Thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, I appreciate you inviting me. I'm looking forward to this again. I love this game, and I love the character I'm going to get to play.
Awesome. So without further ado, we're going to jump straight into character creation. Now, there's one little tweak that I've just recently added because it was a thing. Well, I didn't add it. I just kind of reordered it. And that is the idea of beginning the character creation process. We're talking a little bit about the possibility of like the team's purpose. So I'm going to jump over and start doing a bit of screen sharing. Now, anyone who backs the Kickstarter, I will make available a kind of read-only copy of this Google spreadsheet that you can use for your own games that you want to play online. It's worked very well for me, and this is kind of where I developed the game, was in Google spreadsheets. So it's got some nothing. It's not super fancy tech. I've seen Google spreadsheets that are way cooler, but this one's pretty good. It gets the job done. So what I wanted to throw out there was the idea of starting with a team purpose, because I feel like there are a couple of team purposes. I'm like gesturing with my hands while I'm screen sharing. That's always a good idea, guys. But the team purpose is one of those where you kind of need to know a couple of these. You probably have that in mind before you make your character. So I want to throw out the team purpose at the top. So the team purposes that are default that come in the game are secret heroes. You all live locally, have secret IDs, and protect your homes. That's kind of the default assumption, right? The next one is heroes for hire. Yes, I did steal that from the comic. Some guild of local businesses or someone else that we will determine pay or reward you in some way. So you're kind of mercenary about it. And then the next one is kind of like cops. You aren't officially on the police squad for the neighborhood, but it's close. You're like authorized vigilantes, but it's totally off the books. The tryhards are former sidekicks, which means you're young do-gooders trying to make an impression on bigger teams, because superheroes do exist in this world, just not in your neighborhood. You aren't worth their effort. It's kind of the tryhards are former sidekicks. I think of as like minor leaguers. The atoners is another purpose. These are ex-villains who are trying to improve the lives of the folks that you once hurt. And then there's retirees. You're too old for this crap, but somebody has to get things done around here. And keep in mind that all of these teams will be defending a neighborhood. This is street level supers, like the Marvel Netflix series, CW's Black Lightning. That's kind of the focus here. But any of those purposes that really leap out to you guys, we can always go with the default of the secret heroes. And I already see some people have got some character concepts in mind, but I do want to kind of lead off to talk a little bit about this purpose. What are your thoughts?
I kind of like the kind of like heroes, kind of like Luke Cage in the first season of the Netflix show, where he becomes well enough known that people, if they have a problem, they go talk to him, but he's not in any official capacity. So kind of like a public name, but not a big name.
Cool. And then, so when you say kind of like, are you saying that like he is a hero for hire? Or you like the idea of the team being a hero for hire, or just the heroes that everybody knows are on the block, but you've got your secret IDs?
Just the hero of the block that, we could go with the heroes for hire too, but like I kind of like the idea of, he's the person you go to if there's a problem.
All right. It's kind of like the A-team. Okay. Any other opinions?
Were you saying kind of like cops? I think I misheard the kind of like something part.
For John?
Yeah, that's what I was saying of the purposes that are there, the kind of like cops one.
Yeah, it was the kind of like cops and the atoners were both catching my eye too. So I'm fine with
All right.
the kind of like cops. Another vote then for that.
All right, 2 for kind of like cops, 1 for atoners. Chris, where are you feeling on it?
I'm always a fan of the secret heroes. The tradition is there, but the kind of like cops is something I haven't played around with.
Okay.
So I'd kind of like to do that.
Joshua, any opposition to that really violates your character concept that you might have in your head?
No, not at all. That sounds great.
All right, so kind of like cops is our premise for the purpose for the characters. And so we're going to jump over here to the team. And look, we already have some cool pictures in here. Oh, man, that is a nice picture, Joshua. Joshua was frantically picture hunting before we went live, and I see that you found a pretty cool one. So I wanted to walk everybody through. We do have some stuff that's already started, but I want to walk everybody through the character creation process pretty quick. The first one is your team role, and some people do this first, some do it last. The team role is the idea of your niche or your function on the team. I often describe it like the Human Torch on the Fantastic Four. He's kind of the cut up, or if you want to go literal, he's the hothead, perhaps. And so that's his thing. Or Beast on X-Men. He's the strategist. He's the one who would be the researcher, the investigator. And so the team role is just how you fit on the team. It might be your niche protection. And the cool thing about team role is that there's a mechanical benefit for that. So every time that you're doing something where your team role is influencing your approach, you get to add a die, a 6-sided die, to your overall pool. So coming up with a team role that you want to play is pretty important. After team role, we have mode. So mode is where you generally start with the building that die pool of 6-sided dice. Being normal and being super are the 2 modes that you can act in this game. Being normal is just the regular everyday folks kind of stuff, right? If you're about to try to talk your way out of a ticket, if you have to navigate the bureaucracy of a system, those are things that normal folks can do. And so you're being normal. And then being super, notice it's not being heroic. Being super, when things are over and above, these are the things you would see in a comic book. These are the things that would take some special effects. These are things that when a person witnesses you doing it, they will say, wow. So being super is the other mode. And so when you start off doing something, we will discuss quickly which of those 2 modes most apply. Usually it's pretty evident. After the modes, you have stats. There are a total of 6 stats. One of them is not part of your person. And the stats are head, jaw, heart, hands, and feet. And then the last one is tools. And the way that these stats work is that the head covers all of your cognitive functions: perception, deduction, reason, and thought. Jaw covers your charismatic functions: persuasion, reason, argument, intimidation through speech. Your heart is your compassion. That's protecting people. It's fighting common criminals, connecting emotionally with folks. Hands are your strength functions: lifting, punching, moving, and grappling. And then your feet are speed functions. So it's not always just using your feet. It can also be reaction time, high amounts of agility, dodging, running, and jumping. That all covers feet. And then tools covers, well, when you're using tools, guns, motorcycles, staplers, those are all tools. And if that's a significant part of the action that you're performing, you'll be rolling with tools. You start with 2 of them at 3, 2 at 2, and 2 at 1. The higher value means the more dice that you get, the better chance that you have to roll evens, which is your normal target. You just want to roll evens on 6-sided dice. Then the next step is your powers. Now, there are 9 broad groupings of powers. You just choose from those, and then you define it to taste. You'll notice here that wild card's already predefined, but if we were to kind of peel it back a little bit to show you, the powers are super stat, which boosts up one of your base stats from a 2 all the way to a 6. You just choose whichever stat that is, and then that's where you have your super stat. That's one of the 2 powers you get to choose. Super movement can be clinging, jumping, running, blinking, like small teleportation, but not flying. That's one superpower that is not allowed in Hit the Streets Defend the Block. And if you want to argue about, well, if you can have all these superpowers but not this one, I'll say, yes, you're right. But if you can fly away from your problems, it's not much of a neighborhood street level game. Defense. So defense is a really interesting power that's just based off recent beta feedback. I've upgraded that. And so the way the defense works is when you're employing that power, or if you have that power, you're always taking less damage. You're just harder to hurt for whatever reason that your hero is harder to hurt. And then you can actively engage in trying to defend others by reduce the amount of damage that they take. Also, you even have the possibility with defense of taking on some of the damage that someone else would, take it on to yourself, if that's what you so choose. Perception is the next power, and that covers everything from Charles Xavier, or not Charles Xavier, but like X-ray vision, keen senses, being able to interface with machines, clairvoyance, any other way to sense the world around you. Mental ability is separate from perception, and that covers Professor X's ESP, creating illusions, doing brain blasts, or playing with people's memories, creating illusions, going invisible. All of those things are mental abilities. Body modification is being able to change your biology from growing, shrinking, being able to mimic other people's forms, stretching like Mr. Fantastic, or turning into a ghost form. Gadgetry is creating devices, and those are things that you can do quickly, or you can even say that I created this, I already thought of it ahead of time, and we'll figure out what cool gadget you have. Control is a very broad power. It allows you to control things like elements, plants, other people's powers, quote unquote magic, something else outside of your body. That's what you can control. And then the last one is if you want your vigilante, your superpowered being, to be kind of like a Robin, or I was trying to think of like Cassandra Cain. You'd be highly trained. And so this is the person with the Olympic level athleticism, the kind of person who stays up late at night and tries to learn everything. They are highly trained. And those are the different powers. And so you just you choose two of those, and then you define it, right? You choose one of those broad categories. Then you define it to what it looks like when your character is doing that particular power. Once you've done those two powers, you're going to be rolling a d6, a single 6-sided die, and add 3 to it. That is the con or one-shot rule. So I just wanted to give it a shot here for demonstrate that. And then that, other than a bio to learn a little bit about your character, is all you need to create a character. Once you're comfortable with it, it can be done very quickly. Now, Chris's character, Wildcard, he played that in a previous session and asked if he could bring him over, and I like Wildcard, so why not? But it looks like you guys have already made some progress already. Just a few tweaks and touch-ups to go, so I'll just be quiet for a minute or two for you guys to work a little bit, unless you had any questions. Anybody have any questions about the character creation?
Yeah, so I had for Wraith, I picked the body mod, thinking kind of like he would have a ghost form, and I was kind of thinking like Cloak from Cloak and Dagger, where like if he gets shot, he kind of reactively does it. Would that be better to be a defense power or a body mod?
Well, that's a great question. I think it's really about which do you want to do most of the time. If you want to be able to use the body modification most of the time, that's the one you should use. But if you think that this is a character you're going to be using to defend to be hard to hurt and to defend others primarily, you can go for that one. I think the color for that could easily cover either of those powers. And that's one of the things I like about Hit the Streets, is that the powers are broad and easily applicable. We're not going to sit here and draw a physics-based model and argue and kind of, as the quote, pixel bitch a little bit about if that power would apply. So I try to stay pretty loose in the way that we apply these powers.
Okay. I think I'll stick with the body mod then.
Cool. I like it. I think body mod is the one that I would go with myself too. Because at the end of the day, like, if you want to take that body modification and justify that you're going to attempt to defend someone, while you won't be as effective as someone with the defense power, you still have the opportunity to do that. I'm liking some of these names. One of the things that people have run into as a challenge for Hit the Streets, Defend the Block is the superhero names, right? Your vigilante names, and these are not superheroes. It's one of the things you'll find in the book is that superhero is not a term that I use. I may occasionally accidentally use it here while we're talking, but when I have time to focus and I put it in a book, it's not there, because these are not necessarily superheroes. They're probably more vigilantes than anything. Now, these guys are going to be playing kind of like cops, which is cool, but this is a game that exists within the world of the gray. I have seen some moments when people do things that were a little over the top. You probably would not see a Superman attempt this action, but in the context of defending your neighborhood, sometimes people take extreme measures. I'm not encouraging it, but there's no morality system in place for this game. The neighborhood, though, they see, and they will react to the choices that you make. They may turn. All of a sudden you were a vigilante, and now they think that you're the local thug. So that's something you need to be mindful of. Any other questions as you guys are finishing up those characters?
As far as the roles go, does there have to be a leader, or can we be leaderless?
You certainly can. Yeah, you can be leaderless. No one has to pick up that particular niche. I played it with and without.
Okay.
Let's see, Rich, would you like us to go ahead and roll Spark?
Yeah, go for it. If your character's all the way done up to rolling Spark, let's do it. I'm going to jump over here and take a look. Ooh, we can see our first die rolls, guys. I'm excited. Ooh. This is Roll for Your Party. It's a very awesome website. Got a 5? Well, look at you with all that spark. You're so sparky. So Roll for Your Party is a multi-user die roller. Everybody can roll dice and we'll all see those results. There are unique rooms. And then what's great is this is free to use. It's developed for the Gauntlet community, of which all these guys are members of the Gauntlet community. But if you ever want to come in here and you want to make your own, you just click a new room and bam, it opens up a brand new. And this is a completely unique URL, Equally United Dodo. And then you can share that URL, this whole URL, to someone else, and that room will be just for the people who are accessing that page. But this is the one we're using for this Hit the Streets demo. Oh, who just rolled the 4?
That was me.
Nice. We are some sparky fellows. I'm glad I did not. I changed it from 6 to 3. Oh, another 5. Look at you guys.
That just means you're adding harder for us. So,
let's see. Were we adding 3 to the
yes.
die?
Yeah,
is that right?
You add 3 to the die roll.
oh, okay.
Thanks for asking that question, Chris. I appreciate it. So what we're going to do is once everybody's finished up their characters, it should be just a few minutes, we'll have everybody introduce their characters, and then I ask a few questions called the get-together questions. And those get-together questions will be used to give us a little bit of a team concept, like what their unity is about, a few of the roles within the group. And then we will develop their rivals. Because in Hit the Streets, Defend the Block, not only do you develop your neighborhood, but you also develop another team of superpowered beings, be they vigilantes, their own villains, or just purely rivals who live and exist in the same neighborhood and you have conflicts with. All right, so Chris, you're good to go. John, looks like you're ready. Just doing a little bit of bio work there.
Yep.
Team roles for Copycat and Glitch, and birth names and jobs. Oh, birth name and job for Copycat. Ooh. Glitch's real job's interesting. I wonder if she has that in the neighborhood. Is she a work from home person? Oh, that's a pretty cool team role. Good job, David. All right. Whew, I'm again thankful that I went with +3 because you guys have so much spark. Just amazing. You guys are all sparkful. Like little fireworks. Cool. All right. Well, I think we have enough to get started. So I'm going to have Chris go ahead and introduce his character because I know he knows him pretty well. So Chris, take the stage, man. Tell us a little bit about Jamie.
Jamie Callis is Wildcard. He is the slacker sorcerer, the absolute worst pupil that Morrigan Dunwich ever trained. And he is a consummate BS artist in general. He is a classically trained magician, but he doesn't actually really use that. He is much more of a neighborhood hedge wizard type of magic user, and he tends to use a lot of just randomly associated sympathetic magic in order to try and get things done in a lot of highly unorthodox and often very inadvisable ways. And he has the ability of magic, and one of his other ability is related to a movement spell, which gives him the ability to blink, to generally try and get out of the way of trouble, because he is in no way, shape, or form a heavy hitter or a heavy combat guy. Like, he is backstage support, is the way he would put it. And his general aesthetic is a kind of a mix of like new wave ridiculous color schemes, odd vintage sunglasses, and just absolutely ridiculous clothing combinations that kind of got him his nickname. He doesn't necessarily have any sort of superhuman costume or doesn't wear a mask. He is such a mixed up conglomeration of clothing elements that nobody can keep track of exactly who he is, because the next time you see him, he's going to have something completely different. And generally, his only defining characteristic for any sort of consistent identification tends to be, oh, he's wearing those ridiculous sunglasses. That must be Wildcard.
Ridiculous sunglasses. I love it. Oh, by the way, guys, so the default on this has for powers drop down list, and you can't really write over it. I've removed it's called data validation. I've removed that so you can go in and type over it now that you've picked your powers and kind of further define it to what's cool for your view of how that power works for your character. And if there are folks out there who are saying, how do I do that for mine? All you have to do is go up, click on data, go down to data validation under that menu, and then you will get a pop-up window and you can remove validation. That's all you have to do. Cool. Next, we are going to learn a little bit about Harry. John, please tell us about your character.
Okay, my character is Harry Lamont, known better as the Wraith. He was a secondhand shop owner and this guy came in like desperate for money and just desperately trying to sell off this pendant he has. So Henry, wanting to help out, bought it, not knowing that it was actually the Dark Shard of Nemrath, an artifact that draws him towards people that are evil. And it also allows him to tap into their fears and take on like a ghostly visage and pull the truths from their mind. And his aesthetic is kind of black duster type coat, lots of loose rags around, because his body constantly has kind of a flowy looking smoky form, and a big ol' fedora style hat to keep with the pulp feel.
I love it. I love that you went for the pulp feel. That's a really cool setup. So ghost form, and then just so I'm clear, within the mental abilities, you said you can. Do you feel like he has like a little bit of ESP? Is that what you're leaning towards, or?
I was leaning towards being able to read minds.
Awesome. I like that a lot. David, are you ready to tell us about Allie?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, go for it.
So I kind of envision Copycat, is her name, as a kind of just a smush together of Black Widow and Mystique. She's kind of like a perfect spy, secret agent type ninja, 90s gun-toting lady, but she also has shape-shifting powers. As you can imagine, Mystique. I was thinking, so in that her powers are body modification, just the shape-shifting, and then highly trained as just kind of like an assassin type thing. I think she's done some really dark things in her past, but she's trying to make right now that she's kind of put that life behind her. I'm thinking this, whatever city we come up with, is kind of her hometown. So she's kind of returning, although maybe she was presumed or faked her own death. So she's returning as someone else, possibly. So I'm sure there'll be family members and old acquaintances that don't know who she is.
That's really cool.
Oh, and then I have her job as I'm not too sure about this. If anyone can help me out, I was trying to think of something, but I was thinking maybe there's some kind of hopefully I'm not getting too ahead of ourselves, but maybe there's some kind of like politician that's kind of like a slimy kind of person. She's taken up like a job as a political analyst for him or her. So she's kind of infiltrating that. Like maybe if someone disappears, I can go up the ladder and get even closer to him in the future. Is her kind of long-term plan.
I like it. With it being a neighborhood, of course, we're not going to have a mayor, but maybe there's like a council selectman, or maybe there's like a state congressman that happens to be here.
Oh yeah, I even like the idea of her being petty enough that she moves back and just like, I don't like this like random like tax person or something. Like a really low-level city person.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
I'm totally open for anything.
All right. I like alderman, because that's awesome. Good job. Joshua in chat said alderman, and that is a great idea, and it's now canon. So there we go. Cool. Thank you so much. So, Joshua, are you ready to introduce us to Barbara?
Yeah. So Barbara is an AI specialist. She was she got her training in the Navy, actually, working on AI projects for them, weapons, and they were working on some experimental human-machine interfacing when one of the AI that they were working on entered her brain, and she had trouble dealing with that, obviously. So she left the military and is now hiding that fact that she has this thing, but she can't quite keep herself out of trouble, like helping people around town and that kind of thing. But generally, she tries to lay low, so that she doesn't make a lot of noise and attract attention to herself for this weird thing that she still hasn't figured out, and doesn't have a whole lot of control over sometimes. She still dresses very like uniformly, very clean cut, and yeah, that's Barbara.
Nice. So I have a question about this AI researcher job. Are you thinking that maybe there's like some kind of startup that she's working for this gotten really cheap rates here in the downtown area within the neighborhood? Does that sound cool?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think she wouldn't have really looked too hard into who she was working for, especially if she hasn't been back home or been to this town for a while. She just needed a job to make ends meet, kind of thing. And there's probably not a lot of AI or jobs in the neighborhood, so
Nice. I like that. Cool. So we'll develop that startup a little bit through play, and that'll be some fun stuff of the idea of those little entrepreneur types of stories. I like it a lot. Cool. So we had some team roles here. Wild cards, the wild one, and copycats, the kind of the con artist. I like that. The infiltrator. Wraith is the glue. Also the team dad. I love that. And then Glitch. Sounds like the strategist. Smart of the Glitch to have that 3 in head. Good call. The statistic that checks out. I like it. Cool. So let's jump over to the team generation, and we'll ask these questions. Hopefully, they will be quick and easy. Who brought most of you together among the 4 of you? Who brought you guys together? Who's the one who reached out to more than one of you to form up to become this kind of like cops team?
I would say it sounds like right now, out of the 4 of us, I would say probably Glitch would be the most organized. So maybe Barbara was the one who first thought, you know what, that we could, this could be a lot more of an effective tool to help everybody in this neighborhood if I actually got some of these random elements together.
Yeah, and it's possible that I even Facebook stalked to the extra level to find some of these kind of vigilantes who might not have been willing to divulge their identity to people yet, but maybe I kind of approached them and got them together. I don't know. I'm definitely down for that angle.
I dig it. Sounds good. Who calls the shots? I know that no one chose the role of leader, but who generally is the person to push you guys forward? Of course, it probably shouldn't also be Glitch. So who do you think is the team dad? Is team dad the one who calls it, or is it the con artist that calls the shots? Who calls the shots?
I think Copycat would be a good choice since they actually have you said you're like a highly trained secret agent or something like that, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
Cool. Who causes the most trouble?
Wild card.
Everyone looks to wild card. Do you guys know each other's secret IDs, or is it cape names only?
I'm fine with people knowing.
Well, everybody's going to know Jamie because he's terrible at keeping that stuff straight when he's actually working with people. So
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Who can everyone rely on when the chips are down?
I mean, that's got to be the team dad, right?
Yeah.
it says right there.
Team dad, yeah. AKA team dad. Cool. Wraith. And so where do you guys meet up at night before patrolling?
You can use my secondhand store, or maybe the AI specialist might have a place too.
Yeah, like an internet cafe or something like that with a private room.
A secondhand store, internet cafe. Which do you like better, David?
I was just going to throw out a third option.
Oh, okay.
Make it even harder. What if Glitch is able to kind of access what a really good abandoned building or something that it's like she's keeping it on the books or something, so it looks like it's not abandoned, but we know it is. We can secretly meet there or something.
Abandoned building. Okay, Chris, are you going to give us a fourth option, and then all the options have to fight?
I think I really like the idea of the abandoned building. I would worry about using someone else's like civilian identity spot as a meeting place for all of us weirdos, because that would inevitably cause trouble.
All right, so an abandoned building, I like it, but I need a little bit of like, what did it used to be?
It's got to be some kind of factory or something, right?
Ooh, love that.
Yeah, or it could be a like a one of those old storage facilities.
Yeah,
Just like
a retired automotive factory.
Yes. Let's just call it Goodyear, because they didn't have such a good year at that factory because it's closed down. Who has a beer with whom after a successful mission? Or who's the kind of are all of you the types who would commiserate after doing something great for the neighborhood? Does anyone remain individual and go off?
Wildcard will drink and or whatever with whoever is willing, because that's what he's going to do, and he's happy to have company.
Yeah, Ray would go with Wildcard.
Nice.
Or Henry.
What about Copycat?
I feel like maybe at first Copycat was just immediately like, oh, I'm off the clock, I'm out of here. But maybe after a while, she's kind of warmed up to everybody, and she might vocally complain like, oh, we're wasting time. We should be, on guard at all times. But she's like, all right, but give me a third beer, why not?
Oh, but what about Glitch? Does she go out for a beer with the troops?
I think she does. I think she probably feels obligated. She doesn't want to be left out, but she might look for excuses to leave early most of the time,
She's the designated driver.
And then how do you get your missions? It's several avenues, so this answer could be varied. But with the kind of like cops thing, do you think that there's somebody on the force that feeds you guys or asks you guys to look into certain things, or did you have a different idea for that?
We could have, with Glitch's help, we could have like a website where people report things. We could still get an occasional like referral from an interested officer or an officer who doesn't think he can solve, this case or something like that. But I like the idea of there being like a way for regular people to just sort of send their concerns our way, like point us at stuff. And a lot of it's would be nonsense. Like, I can't find my cat, but we could weed through those, or we could find the cats. Cats need to be found too.
Nice. Okay, so Glitch's app, and at some point we'll probably need to name that thing, but we'll leave that to the side for that to percolate in people's brains. Cool. Then we talk a little bit about our rivals. So I gotta unhide a thing. Rival team names. We have 6 to start from. Hazard Patrol, Blitz Battalion, the Storm Alliance, Quantum Rebels, the Whisper Syndicate, or Future Legion. And then, of course, we could mix and match these. These are all just to get the brain thinking any of these tickle your fancies.
So are these a rival superhero team, or are these like a villain group?
They are either rival supers or a villain. That is what we'll define. That's what we're going to work on right now. Right now, I like to start with a name. Often that will help me color things, but I'm going to see which one inspires you guys. Which one do you like best?
I like the Whisper Syndicate. That sounds pulpy, and we've got a pulp hero on our docket, so I like that.
Yeah, I was going to say Whisper Syndicate or Quantum Rebels, so I'm down with the Syndicate.
I also thought Whisper Syndicate sounded cool. I think it was meant to be.
It was, and so it is. All right. So the Whisper Syndicate, we're going with the idea of it being a little pulpy. I love that. Let's decide a bit about why your teams are rivals. Are they villains? Are they a group that gets things done differently? You guys are kind of like cops. So to me, it sounds like you're probably more popular than the Whisper Syndicate. And the fact that they call themselves the Whisper Syndicate also kind of leans into the idea of you guys being the more visible face within the neighborhood. Why do you guys think you're rivals? Are they up and comers? Are they possibly just villainous and not vigilantes at all?
Maybe it's something like they're vigilantes, but they take things like they take things a little further than we typically would. Like if they decide someone's a bad guy, maybe they're perfectly happy to to stretch the truth a little bit to make trouble for them. Like from just looking at the name, like the Whisper Syndicate, like they might, if they decide someone's a bad guy, they might spread rumors and all sorts of stuff about them that none of that might be actually true, but it's useful for them to discredit whoever that person is. Like they're perfectly willing to do things like that. They don't worry about proving things. They worry about taking down people they think are bad guys.
They tend to decide who's guilty before really investigating.
Possibly. Or they might have investigated and decided, we don't like that, we don't like this guy. We think he's a bad guy. But we don't have direct proof that we can share. So we're just going to basically do all this other stuff and undermine him through a different path. We're not going to try and prove that he's guilty or prove that he's evil to everybody else. We don't think we can do that. He's too strong. He's in too great a position. Or maybe that's what they're thinking. And so they just attack him however they can.
I like it. Anybody have any other thoughts to add into the Whisper Syndicate before we move on? All right, we'll get into what my friend Greg would call the soap opera parts here. Who has a relationship of some kind with a member of the rival team? Who has a relationship with a member of the Whisper Syndicate?
I was kind of thinking it might make sense for maybe Copycat used to be part of the Whisper Syndicate and like quit to join this new group. Like maybe they were too extreme for her. I don't know if that exactly answers that question.
Oh, I know it does. Maybe maybe a person that she served in the secret agency is still a member of that syndicate.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, maybe one of her old allies like started it or something. That could be good.
Nice. What do your rivals have? What does the Whisper Syndicate have that you guys don't?
Money, maybe. Lots of money.
Yeah, I was thinking a bigger backing.
And it might be like dark money. Maybe it's from some underhanded source. Like it's not like legitimate funding. It's they've been stealing it out of people's accounts. Maybe they're getting it through some sort of weird extortion ring because they are the Whisper Syndicate after all. But that's how they fund their operations.
I like it. What weakness of theirs do you take advantage of? I want to hear from John on this. What are your thoughts on
that? What weakness of theirs do we take advantage of? How about they're not as closely associated with the neighborhood. So we have more like friends in the area where they have more like the outsider contacts.
Yep, I couldn't unmute fast enough. I dig that. Cool. You guys like that? Anything you wanted to add on to that, or is that good? All right, thumbs up. You guys have created your rivals, the Whisper Syndicate. We have your team functions. And now we go to the last step of the kind of world character creation is the neighborhood. This is super fun. I've absolutely stolen this from The Hood by James Mullen, Groundhog Games. Totally check it out. It's an amazing Powered by the Apocalypse game that allows you to play stuff like Layer Cake. If you haven't heard of Layer Cake, Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Those are the kind of games that you can easily play with The Hood. And what I took from that is drawing a neighborhood. So as the GM, I start off by drawing a street that is Main Street. Then we go around. We're going to start with Joshua, then John, then David, then Chris. Each of you will draw a street that connects to Main Street or one of the other streets that has been drawn. And that is the street your character lives on. Try to make things easier. I've got some street name suggestions over here on the left. They're just suggestions. And then after you draw your street, you can use any of these building shapes you like or draw your own. Some people have found it a little useful to have something to cheat with. The best way to do this is by creating a line, or you can do a scribble. Scribble allows you to draw it however you want. And a line's a line. So we will start with Joshua. Draw the street that you live on.
All right. Let me try not to mess this up here. There's a size option up here.
Yeah, if you I think we
There we
draw
go.
something. Yeah. Oh, good. You got it.
Alrighty. Should I place a building as well? Or is that for later?
No. Go ahead and place the building where you live.
Okay.
Cool. All right. And what's the name of your street?
We're going to go with West Reevy Terrace.
All right. So we'll just grab that out of there. I'll copy it and paste it into a text box for you.
Thank you.
All right. You are up next, Wraith. Oh, and Joshua, if you can think about what the name of, like, is this a house? Is this an apartment building?
Yeah, I think it's an apartment complex. Maybe not like a giant one, but like there's a little pool in the middle. Maybe like 20 units or something like that.
Little pool in the middle. I gotta draw that.
I think it used to be nice when they built it, like 30 years ago, but they haven't kept it nice, kind of thing.
Oh, cool. I like it. All right, so John, where do you? Oh, nice little connected. So one of the things I find in the neighborhood creation process for Hit the Streets is that it's usually a really ugly neighborhood because none of us are architects. But hot damn, do I just I have that sense of place and I just fall in love with it. It's so great. This is good.
A little bit bigger. All right, so let's see. That looks about good. Yeah, nice cross street there. And of course, it probably needs to be continued out further. But let's see. This is so somewhere in that little crux there is where his shop is second time around.
Ooh, nice name. I like it. Is it 2ND or does he spell it out?
Spelled out. And I like Boyson Road.
All right. David, you are up next. I'll just finish up naming this road for him.
Let's see. So, maybe something around here. Yeah, up north there.
Oh, cool. I like it.
Maybe this is like an uptown thing. I'm thinking maybe there's a this is a like local or like city government, but maybe there's like it's somewhere along here is where City Hall is, and maybe there's some apartments that the people who think they're really important end up living, and she's managed to find a place in there. Oh. Something like this.
Nice. Is that a deluxe apartment in the sky high?
Yeah. What's a good pretentious political? Oh, like a Lafayette Street or
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Lafayette something for sure.
Boulevard.
Oh yeah, perfect.
It's as bougie's name as I could come up with.
And of course, these are like the Lafayette apartments or estates or something.
Ooh, estates. Yeah, I love it. All right. Well, now that we've got Lafayette Boulevard and Lafayette Estates, I'm really looking forward to finding out where it is that Wildcard lives.
Okay. Let's see here. A second. Sorry. Let me move that. Okay. All right. Sort of crossroad right there. And see, I'm going to say that he lives on East Sorich Way, and it is a kind of a little bit of a rundown tenement building, because Wildcard has definite affinity for those, mostly because people don't complain about weird smells or odd noises at weird hours. So he tends to gravitate toward that. And this is the street is called East Sorich Way, but it's not on the east of anything. It's it's just they called it East Sorich Way. It's apparently at some point there was another Sorich Way west, but that has since been gotten rid of in the latest citywide renovation. So there's just this sort of orphaned street that just sort of runs through this old neighborhood that's called East Sorich Way with no connection to anything west or anything like that.
I love it. Cool. So now we have done the first round where everyone defines where their character lives. Oh, so I didn't ask this question, but I meant to. Wraith, do you live like above your shop or something? Yeah? All right.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring. Yeah.
Nice. So we circle back around to speak to Glitch. And so Glitch, we need to know some more information about our neighborhood. So some things that we need. This next go round, we help to define what are called features in the neighborhood. Could be where a notable resident lives, or where a local faction, like if there's a union, or if there's a neighborhood watch, or a Boy Scout. It's basically some organization or faction where their headquarters might be located, or a landmark or a defining place like a park, or a particular monument, or a gathering hangout, like a pub or a bar or a theater, or where most folks work. These are some of the things that I want you guys to be thinking about to help define within the neighborhood. And Joshua, it's your turn. If you need to define or draw a new street, that's fantastic. Go right ahead. If you want to stick it on a defined street that's already there, that's okay too.
David, I was actually going to ask your permission to make Lafayette Mansion home of the Lafayette family, who are, of course, very rich and famous in this area.
That sounds amazing. Please do.
Okay. I need a suitably impressive shape, so give me a second. All right, that's Lafayette Mansion. You know, it's got some weird architectural designs, but they've been big funders of this city for a long time, or this neighborhood at least.
Well, we've got to make it. I love the look of it, by the way. This shape is super cool. Should we make it like white?
That's perfect.
Just kind of make it a little thicker on the borders. Awesome. Look at all this Lafayette. So they're named the Lafayettes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Lafayette family. All right, sticking that down there. Cool. And then we stick Lafayette Estates a little bit closer. Good. So while I'm doing this playing around and doctoring, I am going to ask the spirit, the wraith. I don't know who the spirit is. I don't know.
Okay. Let's see. I think we absolutely need a public city park where there may or may not be problems. So I'm gonna put it over. I'm gonna put it almost right across from the Lafayette Estates. So there's a decent sized park. Green. And it's going to be Cranston Commons Park.
I like that name. That is really cool. And so, is this a park that's pretty much the people who live on Lafayette Boulevard populate it?
You know what? Actually, I'm going to move it closer over to West Reserve Terrace by where Wild Card lives. There you go.
Oh, what was the name of this place again?
Cranston Commons Park.
Okay, I'm sorry. I highlighted. Was this this kind of tan place in the middle here?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That was where Wildcard's broken down tenement is. The street is East Sorich Way. I'm thinking the apartments are like, the Wayfair apartments, something like that.
Wayfair, that's great. And you're totally in that one street that's right beside the rich people street that they're like, oh, we really need to get this rezoned. Wayward, did you say?
Wayfair.
Fair.
Wayward would be a little too on the nose.
Good point. That is absolutely a little too much. Thank you. You gotta check my poor impulses. All right, fantastic. Cool. All right. Thank you so much for that. Next, we jump over to Copycat. So what neighborhood feature would you like to add?
So what if there's like a really old train station, it's like barely used. It's like it used to be really. Maybe this was where the town was built around, or the main, in and out transport. Years gone by, now it's just like the rusty Amtrak place that all the crime kind of happens around.
Is that what you want?
Oh yeah, perfect.
Where you stick it wherever you want. I just threw it out.
Oh yeah, thinking it's. I mean, obviously, like as far away from the rich Lafayette area as possible.
I like it. I'm gonna extend West Reevy Terrace to where you have a railway crossing.
I was trying to think of some good kind of reference. I was thinking like maybe like the Wayne train station or something to Batman related. Oh, maybe the Murdoch or something.
Ooh, the Murdoch. I like that a lot.
Cool.
Oh wow, is that as long as it gets? Okay. We just could play with this stuff all day long. I'll just stop. Cool. So we will call it the Murdoch train station. Sounds cool. Where did you want to? Because I just drew in railway. Where do you think it is, the actual train station?
Oh yeah. Maybe right near this intersection of the Main Street. I'll pick this ugly square to put over here too. I guess similar to the secondhand store. No offense.
We could change that color. Make it like a gray. Awesome. I'm gonna add a little text box so we got that name, Murdoch. DOCH.
Looks good to me.
All right. Wild card. What does this place need that you can provide it?
It needs a place for everybody to drink really, really awesome coffee.
Oh, yeah. You are so right.
So let's see. I think that maybe right along that, maybe on the opposite street corner across Main Street on Boylston Road from Second Time Around, there is like an old gas station that has been converted into like a little coffee shop.
Nice.
And it's still, they came in and sort of revamped the old like gas station / diner look it had going on. So it still has that same basic aesthetic to it, but now it basically sells like different coffees. Not quite a smorgasbord of like coffees, like it's not that kind of coffee shop, but it's got like a few really good blends that are its specialties. And then it sells like bagels and things like that in the morning.
Nice. I want one of those. Cool. So let's stick a picture in there. You said it's down here across from Second Time Around, kind of a small.
Yeah.
Used to be an old guy. What's it called?
Let's see. John is just a daily fuel, and I think that works.
That is pretty great. Ah, that's so good. Good name means so much to me. All right. We have got quite a few things. Now, this is where I just kind of look around to you guys to ask, is there anything you feel is missing? Something that you thought of that just when it came to your turnaround, you ended up going with something different, but you definitely want to make sure it's stuck in there, or any ideas that you had as we've talked this through where you're like, oh man, let's get this stuck in here.
We need a bar.
Yeah.
There's got to be a bar in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Is the bar near Lafayette and it's kind of like a bougie pub, or is it down here near Wayfair Apartments and it's the opposite of that?
Maybe there's like one bougie pub, and then there's like the half outdoor bar slash place to go out and dance near Wayfair.
Yeah, it's like one of those bar slash breweries where most of the seating's outdoors and they have live bands all the time or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think
but
you place that one. You've got a really good picture of that in your head, so place that one. That sounds good. Beer garden. That's great. I guess whenever Oktoberfest rolls around, they really get into it. So that's our down home pub kind of thing. I think Copycat. Do you have a vibe on this bougie pub kind of idea?
Oh, as far as the name means, right? Or what the name
Yeah.
will be?
And where you want to stick it? Is it somewhere on Lafayette? Is it near Main Street? Where do you think it is?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see. The other one. Oh, I feel it's got to be like, if it's real bougie, it's got to be, maybe it started as like a wine place. Like,
Love it.
oh, wait. Oh, I'm just going to steal straight from the headlines. The really bougie place near where I live is just the Grape and Grain that has wine and beer.
That's great.
Don't tell anyone.
Oh, I won't. No one will know.
I was going to say we also have to put it in our, like, the headquarters somewhere too, right?
Oh yeah, your abandoned building. I think John, you want to find that one?
Yeah, sure. Did we have a name for it? Was it Goodyear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Goodyear factory. So I think that's going to be kind of out a bit towards the edge. So let me find a shape.
Who's here now? Oh man, this abandoned building. So it's like a 10-minute drive.
Or actually, Yeah, it's going to be over here near Boyson Road on the far side. So they had quick access to the train tracks to do shipping and things. So it'll be right over there.
Oh, that makes sense. All right. Oh, where's our pub? Where's that placed?
Yeah, the rich one, right? Probably. Let's see. Probably say somewhere between the Lafayette Estates and the park. Maybe close to the park. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, like we just stick it across the street from the park, like there. We'll color it purple so we can remember. And what was that name again? The strip from the headlines name for that sucker?
The grape and grain.
The grape and grain. It's awesome. Probably serve a nice little $12 burger there. All right. So I'll circle back around to just check in. Wildcard, anything you think we're missing, or are you good?
I think we're pretty good. I mean, maybe someplace like a like some sort of like grocery store or general purpose store.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Where'd you stick that?
I would think it'd probably be on Main Street. Maybe it's across Main Street from where Glitch lives, like on that opposite little corner.
You say it's some kind of like a bodega type deal? Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking it's more like generic and boring. Like it's the sort of influx of the big box store. Like that's what it is.
Oh, what would you name it?
Let's see. How about yeah, well, let's make it like just super generic and call it the big box.
All right, that is there. Circle back around. Glitch, anything you feel like we're missing that we need to throw in here?
Oh, not too much. I'm interested in like where most people work.
Yeah.
Like what this town's about, but I don't really have a great idea of what it would be.
Okay. We can discover that in play as well. So Wraith, what about you? Any?
Do we have a I don't know, courthouse or governmental center or something like that?
That would be a smart thing to have with someone who is working there, right? So that would be a good idea. Stick it on Main Street.
Yeah, up towards that right corner.
Okay. I'm gonna use this model, but we'll turn it on the side. Stick it here maybe, and then shrink it a little bit. Make it nice and ugly gray. We just call it the municipal building for now. City Hall, but and then Copycat, any last bits that you wanted to add in you feel like we really need, we're missing? These are things we can always add as we play if we need, but I want to make sure that you're sure.
Would you think we'd be too small for like a jail or correctional facility or something like that people can break out of?
Something awesome. Where would we have a jail?
Yeah, where do those usually go? Would it, I assume nearest to, I mean, would it be? I don't know. Close to probably not close to the city hall now. I'm thinking better on it.
They'll put those things right on the back of a city hall if the city hall has like the magistrate's court in it.
Yep.
I mean,
Oh, really?
They'll stick a city jail like right next door to it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, they will. My small, tiny hometown, that is exactly how it is. You go to court, and then you go right beside it. We'll just only so we can differentiate it. Well, I'll make it this weird thing, and we'll just call it the city jail. It's not city jail, but like the jail. It'd probably be easier if we had a neighborhood name. We could just call it that, but we don't have a neighborhood name yet. All right. This is great, you guys. This neighborhood is lovely and perfect in every way, except for the ways where it's imperfect, which makes it even more lovable. Here is what we're going to do. We've been at this for a good almost hour and a half, and I'm so proud of you and all the work that you've done here. So I'm going to give you a break. It is currently 27 after the hour. We're going to take a well, let's make it an 8-minute break. That way it's nice and easy to remember. So we'll see you at 35 after. See you guys in 8 minutes. Thanks so much, and see you soon.
This town makes me really happy, Rich.
Cool. Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
It's funny how much of a difference it makes when you have a visual aid for this kind of thing.
Yeah, the game was lacking it, the early versions, and once I said, you know what, let's just make our neighborhood, it just really came alive. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, be thankful that you have not seen the chat box where these guys have shared Goodyear related puns. But be advised that it's entirely likely that they may show up in play. I kind of love it. All right. Welcome back, guys. This is cool. Oh, I meant to ask. Glitch lives in this apartment building, but I can't remember what you had named it.
Oh yeah, it needs to be something silly because apartments are always named silly things, like the Grand Arches or something like that. That sounds good.
That is pretty great and pretty terrible in a great way. Awesome. Oh man, this is good. Like half the game happens in chat. That's the best kind of game. Let's begin. So I want to get ourselves to some kind of action sequence to show off the excitement that can be a conflict on a quick way. So you guys are kind of like cops. So why don't we begin with so generally when I think of hit the streets, defend the block, even though it is comic book inspired, I often, when I run the game, will frame it like it is a Netflix series. And that kind of opens the doorway for me to quickly talk about safety tools. So for me, this game is like a PG-13 pushing to R style of game. There will definitely be people who get hurt, but we're not going to have gratuitous stuff on screen. That's the general thing. We may see someone's butt, but there will not be explicit sex acts that are going on, unless, it's not like we're the first few episodes of any HBO series where they really push it over the edge to get everyone titillated, and then all of a sudden they pull back and tell a story. Game of Thrones. And so that's the general idea, the setup that I have. It can be your character's butts, not your player butts. Like, it could be PC butts. I don't know. It's really up to you. You frame your butt into the shot. I'm not going to necessarily hard frame your character's butt into a shot. Although a Wraith butt would be funny because it'd be like all see-through and we could use a little CG on it. But along with the idea of that TV rating, we also have the safety tool of the X card. I'm going to play with the best intention that I have to try to bring fun and to highlight what's cool about the neighborhood that we've created in your characters, but I don't have your lived experience. So if we ever run into anything that causes you to feel uncomfortable in a bad way, we're no longer enjoying the session that we're playing, your comfort level and you having fun it trumps this game. It trumps whatever truth we've established, whatever canon is out there. And so all you have to do is you can make an X like this. You can type in X in the little chat within our Google Hangouts window. Also within the Roll for Your Party, there's safety tools built in, which are really cool, and you can just click on the X card that. Any one of those three ways, whichever is easiest for you, you can say, hey, we're sending you to X card that. All those ways are perfectly valid. We're going to stop the game briefly, have a brief conversation. I'm not going to challenge anything that you've X carded. I've seen quite a few different kinds of X card plays. I've never challenged it. I've never tried to talk someone out of it. That's not why I asked the question. The question is to understand what it was that was X carded. Then we will excise that from our play. And we've got 5 really smart folks here playing. We will come up with something else. So that's not going to be a blockade to our fun. And then we'll keep on. We'll keep that in mind for future stuff, so we won't dance back into that territory, right? I'm not into edge play. I'm not into trying to push people's limits here. Just trying to run, hit the streets, defend the block with some friends. And if I stumble into something that causes a problem, we'll backtrack, and then we'll move on. Cool? Anybody have any questions about X card? I know you guys we've all played together before, but I want to model that behavior for part of this display because it's actually something that is in Hit the Streets, Defend the Block, is talking about safety tools. It's an important part of a good, healthy table. I know there are many people who don't feel the need, but I have found it to really enhance my play. It's almost like knowing the X card is there allows me to feel more comfortable with exploring things than if I didn't know or trust the people that I'm playing with. Cool. All right. With that in mind, I wanted to hard frame us into a quick shot of wild card running. We don't know if he's running towards something or running away from something. And for anyone that's watched previously, I think that's exactly how we started off a wild card before. It's just something that tickles me about the opening sequence being wild card running. And this time we have the sound of police sirens in the background. But we don't see the red and blue lights of the police cars. And after a few moments of wild card running and trying to establish what's going on with a little bit of shaky cam, and he passes by a swing set, which is empty. And that's for people who know this as yet unnamed neighborhood. I just glanced up the right-hand corner over here on this monitor because I thought someone had written something on our map, and I started to read it aloud, but I realized that that's where I had written sample building shapes. So I almost accidentally called this neighborhood sample building shapes. That's just a cue to you guys that we should probably have an actual neighborhood name, because that would be the worst neighborhood name I have ever heard in my entire life. So we realized, for those people who know this neighborhood, that we must be in Cranston Commons Park. That's a good one. And so we see Wildcard heading towards something. And in the middle of the park, there's a bunch of wind that picks up. And we see, maybe we see Copycat, but then she's like a shapeshifter, so maybe we don't. What is the indicator for us as the audience to know, oh, that's really Copycat? We don't always know that, but like on the times when we use camera tricks, or when, if this were drawn, there are particular color schemes or something that would indicate, oh, no, this is Copycat as X, Y, or Z. Is there a particular look that you think you haven't in mind yet? If you don't yet, that's cool. We can figure it out.
Yeah, maybe especially if this were a show, she has maybe some kind of weird eyes. I think the picture I chose, which was a character also named Copycat. I'm a copycat myself. She has like really like blood red eyes. So maybe it's like we see someone that like looks at the camera and you can see them like blink these red eyes for a second.
I love it. Okay, so we see red eyes. What does Copycat look like? Female, male? You're posing as someone else right now.
Yeah, I think you can't see the picture. I think her normal, like natural form, she has like this white hair and like blue skin and the red eyes, like I was saying. But I think she, as Allie Carpenter, she kind of just, I think she looks as nondescript as possible. Like she probably has like the mousy, like a librarian kind of looking person.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. Cool. Good. So yeah, we see her in her alley guise then, but we have that hint, we have that cue that that's actually copycat. And so when we see her, we see that the skirt that she's wearing kind of flies up with a sudden wind. It's not a Marilyn Monroe standing on the vents thing, just indicator that there is some kind of strong wind. And then we see that there is actually a very small cyclone that has started to grow here in the park. Glitch, where have you positioned yourself around this park to be at best use for your team and dealing with this threat?
I think I'm in like a rundown two-door car, like parked on the street with the laptop open, blue light in the face, but far enough away that I'm not, in immediate danger for sure.
Well, that's strategic. It's a very good idea. Cool. And then last and definitely not least, Wraith, as we see this human cyclone start to grow large enough to threaten your neighborhood, where are you?
Wraith is standing atop of a nearby building, watching as it's forming, and then he will leap off the edge of the building, and he kind of turns into his like cloud shape and goes down and stands up from the ground.
Oh, that's nice. That's the most heroic shot. You win the shots. So cool. We have Glitch across the street, very strategic advantage to be able to help out. We have Wraith, is the one who's kind of obviously face-off demeanor. We have Wildcard running up. So Wildcard, did you know this was coming? Is that why you're here? Did someone give you a heads up that this was going wrong? Or are you running away from something and ended up stumbling into this?
I think we had gotten a tip that something was going to happen in the park tonight, and that he was coming to the park, but then he's also being chased by a particularly grumpy dog whose yard he happened to walk a little too close to, and whose owner had not taken the care they needed to take with regards to him being properly leashed. So there's a dog chasing him from a little bit further back as he's also running up to the scene for this for the human cyclone.
And the sound mixers who like they use the sirens to kind of cover it, but now we start to hear the dog sounds coming closer to Wildcard as you face off with this human cyclone, as it were. So yes, Cranston Commons Park is under threat by someone who has the ability to make themselves into a twister. It appears that the path of this cyclone is headed south towards the Grand Arches. And if no one does anything, is going to grow larger and start to threaten the Grand Arches. So I am curious, who would like to do something about that?
Wildcard will happily try something.
All right, so you come running up. You have a... Do you think this is a little yappy dog? Is this like a medium-sized dog, or is this an actual like hunting dog, big dog?
I think it's a medium-sized dog. It's it's some sort of like retriever mix. A little too territorial, and not particularly threatening, but difficult to shake because retrievers can run. So he keeps running. He's fumbling through his jacket as he sees the twister person thing, and he is going to gamble that whatever's in there will still react to things normally. And he reaches into his jacket, pulls out a bit of powder, and flings it into the middle of the cycle. And
Interesting.
this is enchanted sneezing powder.
Enchanted sneezing powder is going to be either really good, or if you blow it, you've just thrown sneezing powder on everyone, and that could be terrible. That is amazing.
Sneezing power too. So yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to, so this human cyclone, I am setting what's called a total threat difficulty, which means I'm leading off with a bang. We're wasting a whole lot of this whole episode's budget on this particular opening action sequence. And with this, I'm setting a difficulty of amazing. So the difficulty is 6. Now, a total threat difficulty it's used to represent something that's going to take several tries to take down. The good news is that for every success or even that you roll, you're going to knock that difficulty down. But the thing will not be defeated until you've taken it out. Less than good news is for every attempt where even if you roll successes, if you have not taken down the total threat difficulty to a 0 state, is effectively a miss, which means that things could happen to either hurt you or your friends or escalate the situation. So we start off with a difficulty of 6. You need evens. And then there's another aspect to this game called tension. And that is most definitely in effect. Tension is when things are extremely dangerous, either physically or socially or mentally, and something's on the line. So there's a possibility of you taking some kind of damage if you engage with that conflict. So let's build your roll. And Chris, I'm going to go ahead and just highlight your sheet so we can walk through that roll together, because this will be our first time we're doing this. So wild card, you are going to try to take down this difficulty 6 threat with some magical sneezing powder. And now that I've said it's a total threat difficulty, if you want to change your tactics, I'm okay with that. But I just wanted to give you that opportunity.
I don't think I'm going to change it because Wildcard's not thinking he's going to take this thing out. He's thinking he will slow it down.
Okay, totally makes sense to me.
So I think he would. We'd start off with his mode, which in this case would be super because he's using magic.
Yep, absolutely.
Stat-wise, I'm thinking this will probably be tools because he's using the magical sneezing powder.
Okay, that works. So
that's 5 right there.
Yeah.
He's using his magic, so that will be an additional +2.
Yep, that gets you up to 7. Now, do you feel like you're being the wild one here?
Well, it's certainly an unorthodox tactic, I would think. But
I buy it. So you add 1 more to that to take you up to an 8. Now, you've got 8 dice to roll. And I know you already know this, but I like to walk it through anyway. You can take your spark, which also acts a little bit like hit points for people that are more used to that terminology. But you can use it to add as many 6-sided dice to your die roll as you wish. You're currently at 8 dice. Would you like to spend any spark?
In the interest of trying to make some good headway, I will spend 1 spark on this.
Okay, so that gets you up to 9 dice. Now, one of the things about the total threat difficulty is that by pushing this amazing difficulty, that is the cap to the total amount of spark that you could lose. So see, tension means that whenever you roll a 1 on those 6-sided dice, you're going to lose a spark. This could go really badly for you. So go ahead and let's roll those. I'm going to jump over here so we can take a look together at this die roll to celebrate your success or shriek in horror at your failure.
Okay, this is going to be like a string of 9 dice. They will all be purple. I'm going to get rid of that 1 purple there.
Okay, cool. Easily done.
Well, I was. Now there we go. Okay, so this is going to be 9 purples.
All right, only 2 ones. That's not so bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 evens is what I see.
Yeah. Wow.
Nice. That is pretty great out of a 6 even thing. This is very effective. So what this means is that while it's technically a failure in that you have not completely taken out the threat, that level of success means you've made a significant impact. So you throw out this magical sneezing powder. It dissipates a little bit so that there's some sneezing powder that's thrown across the park, but you can hear that whoever is inside the cyclone sneezing in the gales of wind that brush past. Now, you took 2 spark of damage, Wildcard. What do you think that came from? Blowback? Do you think the dog caught up to you? You think something else happened? What do you think?
I'm thinking that when he was trying to get the sneezing powder as close as he could to the center of that small cyclone, I'm thinking he got a little too close. One of the big gusts of wind caught him, and it sort of flung him, flung him into like one of the smaller trees or something.
Ooh,
so
nice.
he's bounced off a tree, not enough to like do serious damage, but enough to knock the wind out of him.
Nice. Cool. So the sneezing cyclone has slowed down a bit, but it is still continuing to grow. And his head is south. In fact, it started to pick up. We see ripples of water along the pool at the crap. I already forgot the name of our apartment complex. At Grand Arches. Sorry, how could I forget? At the Grand Arches. So I'm going to cut to Glitch. You see this going. They're threatening the place where you currently reside, your abode. What do you do?
I think Glitch is frantically trying to figure out what natural occurrences would stop a cyclone. She doesn't necessarily think that she can do it, but she's trying to get information to provide to the group. So I don't know if she's I think maybe she's like frantically researching things. This is a high stakes Google search or something like that to try to figure out how to stop a cyclone or a mini tornado, essentially, like what natural forces would be required, that kind of thing.
Nice. I like that. Cool. So to have you figure that out, I think what would be cool is let's have someone else take some action and you're helping them. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, cool. So who would like to act next? Is that going to be Wraith or is it Copycat?
I'll give Copycat first opportunity, but if he doesn't have anything, I have an idea. Okay, so what I was thinking is Wraith in his ghost form could go around the tornado in the opposite direction, kind of the way Flash does.
Nice. But you're not fast enough. Oh, wait. No, spoiler.
So maybe Glitch needs to tell me like the right speed, or I don't know what.
That sounds awesome. I love that. Yeah. So yeah, Glitch is the one who says, yeah, go the opposite direction. You'll dissipate the winds. I think that clicks in my head. Absolutely. Is that good with you, Glitch? Is that how you want to be helping?
Oh yeah, I think she's maybe even like trying to measure the exact speed of the rotation so she can give him, exactly how fast to move the other direction, all that stuff.
Awesome.
Okay, so 3 for being super. Would it be a feat?
Yeah, it's movement. Absolutely. Yeah. That tracks for me. So that's 5. Mind you using your ghost form.
Yeah, so 6.
Actually counts for 2, so that'll get you up to 7.
Okay, I'll have the green pip dice.
Cool. Not going to spend any spark. Don't forget you have one more from the help. Glitch is helping, so Glitch is spending one of that. The Glitch spins the spark, and you get one more, so you're actually at 8 total dice.
All right, so 8 total dice. Okay. All right, let's see. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 evens and 2 ones.
Okay, so you take some You take some harm from this. You're going to lose 2 spark because the total threat difficulty was at 6. However, you defeat this human cyclone. So what does it look like when you can reverse the cyclone? What does that look like?
Like I said, Wraith is kind of he's kind of flowing because he's all smoky and everything, and he just kind of pours into it, and you see him like stretch as the cyclone is pulling him, and he just works against it, and eventually there's a gush of air that kind of blows out and blows like leaves and everything everywhere, leaving whoever was at the center of it just standing there.
Nice. And the person standing there is a guy. He's got long hair, like down the middle way down his back. He sneezes a few times, kind of pitifully. He's in his boxer briefs. Looks like he's in his late 30s. He's got a bit of a scraggly beard going on. And he sneezes a few times and he looks around, looks very confused. And so I'm going to check in with Copycat. I think you're the first person to kind of react. Everybody else has been doing this crazy action, but you were right there, just perfectly out of the way of the cyclone hurting you.
Yeah, I think since she wasn't really equipped to deal with this cyclone person, but now she maybe has a better grip on things. So I think maybe I was going to say mysteriously off screen, but we got to see it first. Like sorry, hold on just a second. She I think just like transforms like on screen from that kind of mousy kind of nondescript person into just a really tough looking police officer. And she kind of I think she has like guns on her, like hidden or something. And so, but if you're paying close attention, they're not police guns at all. She kind of, points it at him and just like, all right, on the ground, no one can get hurt. Just you're safe now, but put your hands up.
Oh. He puts his hands up and he kind of drops down to his knees. He does so in a slightly practiced motion. Maybe this is a guy who's been arrested before. He does not question you, but he's like, I don't know, what am I safe from? And he sneezes a couple more times, and then he puts his hands on the ground and he just proceeds to lay down and put his hands up behind his head. Effectively assuming the position. We see the red and blue lights of the police on their way. And so I'm curious, what do you do there, Copycat?
And I think there's just like a tight shot of her, or like a panel, and she's like, well, that was easy. Yeah, can we like communicate with our team members or anything? Do we have like...
Yeah, totally. You can do the adventure style where you just like don't need any earpiece whatsoever. You just talk, and we all mentally assume that there's some kind of communication. No, yes, you guys have some kind of comm device. I don't know if it's a magic thing that Wildcard's created for you, or Glitch has created some kind of earpieces.
Yeah, so I think Copycat just is like, so what's the plan here?
I say we just turn him over to the cops. I mean, with full knowledge of what's transpired here, of course. But, I mean, we can't hold him. Just make sure he doesn't turn back into a cyclone. We'll be good.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense. She kind of goes over, and I think she doesn't have handcuffs, I don't assume, so she kind of just holds this guy down. She's like, all right, do you want to tell me what's going on here?
I don't know. I went to bed, and I went to bed early. I kind of was celebrating a little something, and I just woke up here. I feel kind of dizzy. The kid starts sneezing, and then police pull up, and you hear the and they start to make their way here. Wildcard, what are you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks for asking. And at that point, he's like starting to stand up, and then the dog barrels into him. And luckily, it's an affectionate dog at this point. It just smelled his dog and like got all excited, and so he's currently being slobbered on and still coughing from being slammed into the tree, but they'll get over it.
It's totally a chocolate lab then. It's got to be a chocolate lab.
Yeah, and really, really, really slobbery one too. So
yeah, the kind where you just like, did they really like drill something and it's crazy. Is he have pockets of slobber in? It's cool. So we'll cut over to Wraith. You see Copycat talking to the human Cyclone. The cops are here. What are you doing?
I want to say, quickly, tell me, how did you turn into a cyclone?
Turn into a what?
What happened to you? Do you remember anything?
Ooh, are you trying to compel the truth from this guy and read his mind, perhaps?
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So this one's not a total threat difficulty, but I'm going to set 2 difficulties here. Tension is not in effect because you guys are kind of like cops. So even if the cops come in, they're just going to interrupt, but they're not going to think you are guilty. They'll look to the side and they know you guys are sort of the heroes around here. With a good success, with 2 successes, you're going to get a general idea of where his mindset, not his headset, because he's not wearing a headset. It's just his hair. But his mindset of what's going on. Like read all of his surface thoughts and know if he's telling the truth. But if you get a remarkable success, 4 successes, then you're going to get some deeper knowledge of what might have kind of put this to action, things that he may not be consciously aware of.
Okay, sounds good. So would this be a jaw roll?
Absolutely. I think you're trying to talk to this guy. And of course, I could see someone argue for the idea of head for perception, right? Because you're trying to read. When you are normally using this power, is this a thing where you're using your charisma to push and use your mental powers, or do you think that's a head thing?
I think it's more of a charisma thing because if they're trying to like withhold, he has to really push them to give up the truth.
Cool. So we'll keep that in mind for future. And if you're using his powers, default, we're going to say it's usually a jaw thing. That's cool.
Okay, so super jaw and mental abilities. So 3, 6, 8 should be good. Is there a single button to clear everything?
There is.
There it is.
It's to the right of submit.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to share screen so we can see how these dice go.
All right. 8 dice. I'm going to... Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and spend a spark too.
Okay. And again, tension is not in effect, so ones are not going to count against you in this roll. You're looking for either 2 or 4 successes.
I just really want that 4 success.
Right? Okay. All right.
That looks exactly like 4 successes.
Exactly. Look at all those 5s. Wow. Oh, man. If only you got something special for 5s, man. Okay, cool. So you get the 4 successes. This guy, he says, I don't even know what you're talking about, man. I just got a little drunk and then I went to bed. I got the DUI. I'm working it off. And you're able to tell that he is telling the truth as he perceives it. But you sense that someone has tampered with him. And you, with the level of successes that you have, you're able to, there's a particular flavor to what has been done to them. And you know that this is the work of the Pusher, a member of the Whisper Syndicate, who, just like how you can force people to tell the truth, this person can puppet string people's actions, kind of plants commands that they'll then go off and execute. He can make people do things that they normally wouldn't do. But that means that this guy has some kind of latent power that he either has never had before or what has been unaware of. And so Officer McGillicuddy comes over and goes, "Oh, hey guys, we got the reports on this." He bends down, he starts cuffing this guy. "This is the guy, right? Half-naked guy?"
Yes, but I don't believe it's entirely his fault. He seems to have been controlled in some way.
"Well, that's not good. Is there somebody around?"
No, there's not somebody here. It's some kind of mental suggestion.
"Oh, it's not
So
good."
be kind to him, please.
All right. Well, come on, buddy. I got a jacket in the squad car, and he'll pull this guy up and start to walk him off towards the squad car. Anything you guys want to do before Officer McGillicuddy takes him away?
Yeah, I think I want to step out of the car, put the laptop aside and walk up and say, "Officer, if you don't mind, it would really help us if I could have his name and address before he leaves, so we can look into this a little bit more, because this could be a big threat." And if
Cool.
he
So
somehow-
McGillicuddy looks at the guy, and the guy says, "They call me Tag Hanover." And so he'll give you his address, and McGillicuddy says, "Let me take him in the car. I'll look that up, make sure it's right, run his fingerprints, just to make sure this guy isn't full of a bunch of hogwash, you know."
Thank you, officer.
And he knows Glitch like it's Glitch, right? So, right? Because you
Yeah,
guys
I
are
would
okay.
think so.
So yeah, McGillicuddy will take this guy in the back. His name's Tad or Tag Hanover. I've stuck him into the NPCs and places tab, and Tag Hanover. He works at. Let's see. I think he he works at the beer garden. He's just kind of a gopher. Booze kegs, clean stuff up. Occasionally he'll work in the back in the kitchen, clean things there, or, throw things on the little grill or the steamer. And so Tag works at the beer garden. And he's got a few priors, but it's mostly around like public urination, intoxication. He's got a DUI on his record. Other than that, it's not a violent offender. He doesn't have any priors along those lines. And you have his address. That was the other thing that you asked for. And I want to say that he actually, I think he's got an apartment in the Grand Arches. One of the one bedrooms. Lowest rent in all of the Grand Arches.
I know about that. I think I would like to also double check on Wildcard. I'll walk over and offer a hand if they're still tussling with the dog.
And he just says, if you could just distract the dog for a minute.
Yeah, I think I'll throw like a little sparking gadget that I just have in my pocket, because why not, on the ground, and hopefully to distract the dog, but maybe it just scares it, which would not be my intent. But
I have a feeling that the Chocolate Lab, which was incredibly affectionate with Wildcard, when you come near, it starts to get a little leery, a little suspicious. Then you throw your sparking gadget, and he just he just takes off. That terrifies him. He's so scared of your weird little sparking gadget thing.
oh no, that's not what I meant. Oh well, not good with pets, I don't think. But yeah, I'll hold my hand out and help Wildcard up.
Thanks. Ow.
So if I'm not mistaken, you got thrown into a tree. And do we need to take you somewhere? How are you feeling?
I think I'll be okay. I just need to get some rest. Take some aspirin or something else. I'll figure it out.
Okay, but that's what you said last time, so just, I don't know, I'll check in on you. How about that?
Sure. I'll check in tomorrow morning. Just need a good night's sleep. I should be fine.
All right.
And a shower. Ugh.
Got remnants of sneezing powder, dog slobber, branches, leaves. It's just a typical night for wild card, I think. Wraith, you are a little bit low on spark. Is there anything? What is it about Wraith that they could probably tell that you were a little drained from that action?
I want to say there's he's kind of looks. You can kind of see his more human features if you look closely. So he's kind of, I don't know. I'm not loving that, but yeah. So yeah, he's kind of like, instead of being his, glowing, ghostly self, he's kind of looks more like a regular guy, and he's looks low energy.
Copycat, you are trained to notice differences in people. I mean, that's a simple secret agent kind of thing. So you can tell the Wraith's not doing so great.
Yeah, and I think now she's back in her natural kind of copycat form, the blue skin and everything. She's like, hey, you wanna hit the showers or something? You look pretty worse for wear.
Yes, I will. I think that's a good idea.
I was gonna follow up this lead at the apartment, but I don't know. Maybe we should hold off on that.
Oh, you can continue on. I'm sure you'll be fine to look into that. I will catch up with you shortly.
She just a professional nod.
Cool. So I'm going to circle around to Glitch. Officer McGillicuddy drives off after giving you guys the information that you'd requested. See a brief conversation between Wraith and Copycat. Looks like the two of them are parting ways for the moment. What are you doing, Glitch?
I think I'll walk over to Copycat and see what's going on. Maybe I overheard her mention that she was going to look into this lead. That's exactly what I was thinking. So, Copycat, you still on duty, so to speak?
She kind of nods her head. She's like, you got that address, right?
Yeah, it's in my complex. It's a little unnerving. So I'd like to look into it sooner rather than later.
How well do you know your super?
Oh, not very well. Other than the checks I slip under the door, I never see them.
Well, I got a pretty good look at that guy, and maybe he just lost his key. Maybe I can have a talk with that super.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I can certainly look into any kind of surveillance they might have, try to see if somebody was coming and going from the guy's room, that kind of thing.
That sounds good.
Wildcard, you coming with?
He's stretching a little and says, "Oh, sure. You're well, sorry. Grand Archer still has that little coffee shop thing in the bottom floor, right?"
Yeah, I think it's open this time of day.
Nice. Is this coffee shop like an actual place to sell coffee, or is it a vending machine, or is it a a few coffee pot, like a coffee pot set up with like the little Keurig things. What are you imagining with that coffee shop? And since you live at the Grand Arches, why don't you answer that one?
Yeah, I think it's coffee pots and then a Keurig and then a vending machine, and it like goes up in quality, right? So like if you want the really cheap stuff, you just get the coffee pot, but you have to pay extra for the pods, or get the quote unquote gourmet from the machine, just depending on how you're feeling.
Nice. All the options. This is what the Grand Arches is all about.
Yeah.
Cool. If we come to, we'll cut to the establishing shot of the Grand Arches. We see the pool. We see the L-shaped building. There's like these, archways that are built in slightly gaudy and overdone ways. And the three of you are coming in. We see Wildcard split off to get some coffee. So I'm curious on the 3 steps of coffee. Where does Wildcard go for coffee? Like, which of the coffees is the coffee of his choice?
Well, I think because he doesn't want to have to pay extra right now, I think he's just going to go for he's going to surreptitiously use the resident coffee, and he's going to nonchalantly just get some of the residential coffee and not have to pay for it.
Nice. And it sounded like Copycat, you wanted to appear as Tad, and say you got locked out and you want to get back in, right? Is that the plan with the super?
Yeah, I think we just see Tad just walking up with, I think just because we only saw him in underwear, so she's just trying to guess what he looks like. So maybe just
so she's not
like a lumberjack there. Yeah.
That's great. She can't imagine clothes for him, so she puts him in clothes. That's great. What? I'm gonna glitch. What is the T-shirt that Tad is wearing as Copycat represents herself as Tad? What's the T-shirt say that Tad is wearing?
Oh, it's got like the 80s rock lettering, and it just says rock and roll. It's like
Super
and purple and yellow. Yeah.
Great. Cool. So you guys head up, knock on the super's door, and he's got his own apartment, office / rock and roll / music. I'm going to cut away to catch up with Wraith right now. Where do you imagine that Wraith heads after they break off to continue the investigation?
Wraith is going to head to the beer garden. Figure I can calm down and maybe even get some information there by some chance.
Okay. Cool. So we frame up with the beer garden. That was the place that we built before. It's got a bunch of cafe tables outside because of the beer garden motif. I think there's a bunch of ivy on one of the walls. Maybe they've got a bunch of planters and other plants that are outside. What's the weather like tonight, Wraith? Is this a nice kind of cool night, or do we have a particular season that's influencing the weather right now?
Yeah, it's a cool night. Just like slightly overcast, so it's good weather for being out.
Cool. And it's not so late that this place is emptied out. So there are people, locals. This is kind of the common eatery pub, not the bougie place that we built up on the Grape and Grain there. So there's a local band that's playing, like out of high school guys, the girl lead singer, a little too heavy on the bass. The mic levels are a little off, so you can't quite tell what she's singing, but she may have a good voice. And so that's going on. Waiters and waitresses kind of moving around, and a bunch of TVs on the inside are showing some sport events. Where are you headed? Do you have a bartender and are you the Wraith? Like, do you roll into this all ghost for me, or?
No, I think he's back to just looking like Henry.
And Henry's known, he has a secondhand store that's just a few blocks away, right? Are you well known as Henry here, or are you just the familiar stranger kind of thing here?
Familiar stranger, kind of. I know a couple people hey, how's it going? But not much not intimate knowledge of anybody here.
Cool. Do you want to grab a table, belly up to the bar?
I'll belly up to the bar and just get a drink and say just like try to start a little bit of conversation. Say like, I hear Tag got pretty wasted last night.
Nice. So the bartender is college age girl, red hair, close cropped. It's got an easy smile, and she laughs. She goes, "Oh yeah, Tag tied one on." I mean, there was a group of the guys that went on after. They hooked up with some dudes from the grocery store, and they had a keg or something. I didn't go. They do that, It's a thing. She pours some more drink into a glass for somebody else, but hovers around you.
So, I'm surprised. This is obviously the best place to drink. Where he went out with a bunch of grocery guys.
Ooh, cool. So I'm going to put this to a roll
Okay.
to see if she gets a little suspicious. Like, ooh, why is Henry asking like this guy I don't even know asking these weird questions? See if you can grease it. So you're definitely being normal, which, as we know, isn't necessarily your forte, Henry. Is it Henry or Harry?
Henry.
Okay, cool. All right, so and
Harry, I'm wrong. I forgot my own name. Sorry.
Like when I glanced over, I was like, "Wait, oh." Anyway, so you're being normal, but the good news is that you are charismatic. Your jaw is good. So you got 4 dice. I'm going to say that allaying her suspicion is a good difficulty. So you only need 3 successes. You're not using any of your powers. Feel like Team Dad's working here or not?
Not really. No.
Okay. All right. So we've got 4 dice. Do you want to spend any spark? You won't lose any spark because tension isn't in effect, but that resource is getting pretty low for you, friend.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I love it. Cool. All right. So you need 3 successes. Let's get over here to these dice.
1, 2, 3.
And that one doesn't hurt you because tension is not in effect. So you're down to 2 spark, and I just want to highlight that because when you run out of spark in this game, you can't go negative. But if you ever hit 0 in this game, then you lose access to being super because you're out of spark, right? You're not necessarily dead. We'll figure out what has happened at that point, but something's definitely drained it out of you. Now, there are ways to refresh your spark that we can talk about, but I just want to make sure and highlight that if you ever get down to 0 spark through burning it out or losing it in conflict, that the bad things can happen. So there's a moment where she does like the head tilt, but then Dad doesn't make a whole lot of money, so they go out and they get Milwaukee's best. We can't really, it's good prices here, but you know what I mean, right? They go in on, a few 12 packs or a keg. They pool their money together. It's cheaper. That's all.
I was a college student once upon a time. I figured I understand.
Oh yeah? What'd you study, old timer? By the way, I don't think Harry's super old, but like,
actually, museum studies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm a double major in journalism and criminal justice myself.
That's pretty impressive.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, do you know Tad? Like, are you like his uncle or something? He doesn't really talk about himself a whole lot. He just recently came into town.
Oh, I've just talked to him here a handful of times, and I always hear somebody came into the store talking about it. That's all.
The store, right? You run the secondhand store. Museum studies. Is that how you ended up doing that?
Yeah, kind of high aspirations before, and end up running that.
My girlfriend Julie, she said she picked up some really cool stuff there. Like, so don't sell yourself short, man. That's really cool. You have stuff that people need, and it's good. Secondhand is great too, especially around here. It's not like anybody makes a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
He pours you another drink. If Dad didn't show up for work tonight, did you need him? Like, should I think his number's in the back.
Yeah. He had asked me to look into getting something for him. If you could give me that number, I'd appreciate it.
So I'm not going to have you make another die roll for the number. You've kind of talked her into this is a thing, and so yeah, she'll go and she grabs that and she writes the number down. We'll cut away to the door to the office for the arches opening up, and so the grand arches super, as it were, is. I mean, I'm sorry, but like it's got to be a guy in a wife beater. I mean, that's just the first thought that came to my mind, and I'm going with it. And he's got like tufts of hair on either side of the wife beater thing. It's a little grimy. In the background, we hear Seinfeld. It's a little too loud, but he's a super, so who's going to complain to the super? It's a little short. He's probably in his mid 40s, and he kind of half looks up. What's up, T? What do you need?
Hey there, man. I just got back from the barn. I think I lost, I think I might have locked my keys in my place. You couldn't let me in real fast, right?
Yeah, man, there's a fee for making a new key and shit.
I know. I don't need a new key. It's just, I'm almost positive. I think I left them by my bed. I'm just, it was a weird night. Sorry, man.
So now we are going to have rolled to see if you've pulled off being a copycat. Pretty good at this. You had a look at Tad. So I'm going to say this is a typical use of your power. This is a thing that you do. Tension is not in effect. I just want to kind of see how good you are at faking Tadness. Cool. So you're being super, definitely. What stat do you think corresponds to when you're trying to mimic other people?
I feel how that scene went. It seemed like a jaw kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. I'm right with you on that one. So that gets you to 5 dice, and then you're using your body modification of mimicry, so that's 2 more, so that's 7. 7 dice, you need 2 successes. Do you want to spend any spark, or are you good to roll those dice?
I mean, I'm swimming in spark. I might as well use 1 at least. Why not?
Okay. All right. Go for it.
So was that 8, if I'm right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, glad tension's not happening.
You're so lucky. Wow. Look at you squeak by with that 2 when you needed to. Well, I think there's a moment when the super glitch. You aren't there, right? You just let Tad do fake Tad do their thing.
Right, because Tad and I don't hang out, so I wouldn't want to make the super even more suspicious.
Cool. He scratches his sweatpants on the butt there, and he says, yeah, all right. And he closes the door, and he goes in and gets all the keys, and he comes out with his little string of keys that he's got, and he'll walk with you to open up your door. He's not going to go in. You open it up, the light's off. Easily know where to reach to turn on the light, and he looks like he's gonna stand. So I'm gonna ask Glitch this question. Do you imagine that the arches is the kind of place to where they have interior hallways? to the apartments, or is it like an exterior walk up to the apartments?
No, I think it's one of those where, yeah, all of the doors of all of the apartments face in towards the pool, and so there's no hallway. It's just multiple stories, and like everybody has their balcony or their door facing the pool.
No, he's on the front. He's on the bottom level, as far from the pool as you can get, which of course will make it the cheapest. And so there we go. Yeah, turn the light on. You see that this is a almost studio apartment. It's one of those that's got couch, TV. The kitchen is literally like you can fall from the living room and land in the kitchen type deal. Single bathroom, stand-up shower with a tiny water heater. And it's a bit of a mess. He's got an older game console, a TV that's just sitting actually on milk crates. Looks like he showed up here and dropped his clothes, just literally just dropped everything on the floor on the one couch that he has. And it looks like he's actually sleeping on the couch rather than a bed. That's the first impression that you get. The super's just standing right outside, kind of. You good?
Yeah, and Tad's like, "Oh yeah, sorry about that. Thanks again."
All right. And he'll head back. If you could call me again, I'll make a new key. That's $85.
Oh no, that's a one-time thing. This will never happen again.
All right. So I hate changing locks, man. It's a lot of work. He shuffles off in his flip-flops and heads back to the office. Glitch and Wildcard, you guys can catch up here if you so wish.
I think I'm gonna actually head to my apartment.
Okay.
And because I'm curious if I have any footage of him. I imagine that Glitch has kind of hacked into the security camera, if there even is maybe just one security camera for the whole apartment or something, just so I can kind of figure out if I can get any information about people who might have visited him.
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, let's put that to a roll. And I'm going to say that that's something along the lines of trying to figure out cognitive functions. So I'm going to say it's definitely you're using your head, try to figure that out, which you happen to be pretty good at, being the strategist, as my brain keeps wanting to say. I don't know. Strategery.
It's more fun to say. Yep.
Black box. Okay. Anyway, it's an old SNL skit. Good. So let's build. I'm going to say that the difficulty is you got quite a bit to look at over. If you're willing to spend a lot of time, it's just typical. It's typical research. But if you want to get it done quickly, like tonight, then you will need a remarkable success to be able to speed through with your crazy AI and technical skills. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, 2 or 4.
Okay. So I've got normal and head, and that's it, right? As far as
unless you think you're using your machine interface, but then you're probably then being super, so it's kind of a wash with the fact that you're
right.
Unless you've got some gadgetry. Now, here's the thing. If you can figure out a way that both of your powers are being used in concert, you can do that. It's not something I like for people to do all the time because it feels a little bit like spamming. But, so think where the situation is appropriate for both powers to be in effect, then you could possibly have 2 dice. But then that pretty much guarantees that some kind of tension's got to be in effect because you're using that many powers. Something could go terribly wrong.
I think I'm just going to roll the 6 for now and
okay,
try it out.
All right, so let's see what we get.
Ooh, wow.
Are you the blue?
Yeah.
That is a lot of evens. That is all but 1 even. That is a pretty darn good roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes. Yeah, you have them red-handed. You see time coded about 3 hours ago, which is 30 minutes after Tad went into his apartment, stumbled in, by the way, quite drunkenly. You recognize the Pusher from the Whisper Syndicate. The Pusher actually wears a hat not unlike the Wraith. Nice little Carmen Sandiego fedora style. Heads in, so up to the door, jiggles the handle a little bit, and then it opens up, and they go inside, and then they come out just a brief period later.
Gotcha. Anybody with them? I assume it's just them.
They arrived by themselves, but cross-checking the camera on the parking lot, someone else was driving them in their nice-looking Escalade. And you could probably grab the plates off of that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, you could do that. That's no problem.
Perfect.
So we cut to, and this may be the last scene of our game session. We'll see. We'll cut to the interior of the apartment, because I believe Wildcard, you were going to catch up with them, catch up with Copycat. Doors closed, so Copycat, do you slide back into being yourself, or do you try to keep up the mimicry?
Yeah, I'll switch back to her normal form. Got to give the actor more screen time.
That's a good call.
I think after maybe she'll like wait a few seconds to be discreet and then just open the door again, waiting, assuming Wildcat's coming. Or Wildcard.
And he comes in, starts looking around. He goes,
I think Copycat's like, you friends with this guy? It looks kind of like your apartment.
No, this is way nicer than mine. He's like, he's looking around. He's looking at the cups. He goes over and looks at the hairbrush. Gets one of the hairs. Might be able to use this later. Gets like a little plastic baggie and like stuffs it in. Zip bag into the interior pocket of his jacket. And he's just sort of looking. He's just sort of doing a lot of stuff like that. And he says, he was coming back here, is what it looked like. He was coming toward this place, right? I mean, that's what it looked like to me. But
yeah, hell of a way to get home.
Yeah. But if he's trying to get back here, then something, somebody took him away from here, or he left here and ended up somewhere else, and then he was just trying to get back home afterwards. Did we have any? I mean, did you guys hear any reports about a human tornado, or hitting anywhere other than the park? It just seems like an odd thing to do. If there was something underhanded going on, it just seems like an odd thing to do, is just run back through that park.
Yeah, we should probably we should have glitch reference that. It's not a bad idea.
No, she's probably already done it. She's like weirdly obsessive that way. And he starts going through the cabinets and the closets, and like, man, this dude has a lot of sandals.
And I think Copycat's trying to go through I think you said like it looked like he got undressed and just went straight to sleep. So maybe just like the clothes he was wearing that previous night, she'll try and look through that. Any sort of clues or anything?
You find that his T-shirt has an actual band name on it, Rolling Stones. So you kind of messed up there. The rock and roll was not quite. It was good enough to fool the super. But Dad does not appear to have a rock and roll shirt. It's got that dampness of a person who probably wears the same clothes a couple days in a row, sweaty enough to where he participates in physical activity, right? You get that bit of information. Have you called yet, by the way, Wraith, to give them the info that you'd received yet, or do you want to show up here at this point?
Yeah, I can show up there.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
I'll just share the info and like Glitch. Maybe you can see if he called anybody last night or anything like that, or his GPS location.
Do you think I would be done reviewing video by now?
Sure. Yeah, you made such a spectacular roll. You are definitely done. You've indexed all of the last 12 hours of video feed for the arches.
So yeah, I'll shrug and say, I mean, it's definitely something I can take a shot at. You know, the cell phone companies keep a close watch on that kind of thing, but it's not something I've never done before. I'll put it that way.
And we thought the Whisper Syndicate was bad. They are bad, but you know. All right, cool. So it sounds like Glitch, you're going to do a little bit of a search around for cell phone information on Tad using his number. Is that right?
I think we could do that. Yeah.
Okay. And then a wild card, you were trying to snoop around. What were you trying to gauge, really? I just want to make sure I understand what you're after.
I think what Wildcard was going to do is see if he could maybe use a few, bits and pieces from around the apartment to maybe do some sort of tracing spell to kind of, trace his steps earlier in the evening. Because obviously he left from here, got to somewhere, and then was coming back. So maybe if I'm able to put together something with what I can find from around his apartment, maybe that could help.
Okay, cool. And then to check in with Copycat, you were checking out his clothes. What were you hoping to try to ascertain there?
That actually works out pretty well because I was maybe hoping to get something that he had recently used with the thought of maybe this could be something that could help out with this spell that was going to go on. So if Wildcard's doing that, then I might throw in a spark to help.
Okay. So it sounds like we have two different approaches to try to get similar results. Is that right? With the cell phone and then the tracing spell? It feels weird to have both you guys roll for it and possibly get the same results. So which do we feel is more interesting for this? Is our tracing spell or the cool hacking sequence? Because we could always roll the hacking sequence to help guide the tracing spell or vice versa,
I think the spell is cooler since we already had a glitch moment earlier, but yeah.
Okay. So Wildcard, you've grabbed Tag's most recent set of sandals, clothes, and a little bit of his hair in his one comb. And then with Glitch helping out with cell phone records and the fact that Copycat had grabbed all that stuff for you, you'll be creating a tracing spell. So yes, magic. Whenever you use magic, there's always a little bit of tension in effect.
Oh yeah, especially for Wildcard's magic. Okay, what he's going to do is he's going to take the hair. He is going to take a bit of the clothing, and he is going to put that in a pot, like the biggest pot he can find in Tag's apartment, which is probably like maybe a 2-quart saucepan or something like that. Not very much. And he is going to put that and some water, start that to a boil. And he's going to take out a couple of other things, some herbs, some little shredded forget-me-nots, and a few really, 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 really pungent herbs, like just the nastiest things that you can pull out of a garden, just for raw stench, and throw them into this pot. Get it to boiling. It's going to smell. And after he's done boiling it, He is going to scoop it into like a coffee cup. He is going to hold the pair of sandals over the sink and pour this mixture over the sandals. And then he is going to very carefully, after he's sort of shaken the sandals a little drier, very carefully put the sandals on and follow his footsteps.
That is so cool. I was like, is he going to walk in his shoes? I love it. Cool. So what I'd like to do, if you guys are okay with this, is based on time, I'd like to set up this roll, see if it's a pass or fail, what that roll yields. Then we'll kind of cliffhanger it as you start to walk out of the apartment for good or ill. And then we'll stop there. We'll do our end of session stuff and we'll call it a night. And then we'll pick right back up with the results of that spell, pass or fail, at the beginning of next session. Does that sound okay to everybody? Awesome. So let's build this thing. I think I'm going to say it's a good difficulty, but the tension is in effect. So you need 3 successes here to be able to pull this off without any issue.
Okay. See, I'll start with super. Now that's 3. And I'll go with. I think I'll probably go with head here because I'm having to put together a lot of elements for this particular spell. I don't just have a pre-prepared powder for it.
And while you are walking, it's not really about movement. It's about trying to perceive this person's steps. So I'm okay with that. And you're definitely using magic.
So that puts me at 3, and 3 would be 6, and then 2 from the magic, which would make it 8. And let's see.
Seems a little like you're not necessarily being the wild one since everybody's helping you. This is the whole team is on.
Oh yeah,
on
this is more of a teamwork thing. So the wild one is not really going to figure out.
So you got 8. You want to spend any spark?
I think I'll spend a spark to get me up to 9.
Okay.
I'm not particularly spark flush, but this I'd like to see this work. Okay, so that would put me to 9. Was anybody else going to throw in any spark for their assistance?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about it, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, and we definitely know how you're doing it because you are using the cell phone records.
Okay. Here we go. All the purples. Oh, that looks really good. I like that.
That's a pretty great roll. All right, so you're going to lose 1 spark from the roll, but you are most definitely successful. So we see you go through the action of setting up this very convoluted saucepan filled with various items, sprinkle it over the sandals, walk in the sandals, you walk outside, and you start walking immediately towards the parking lot. The other 3 members of your team start to follow you, and that is when we come to an abrupt end to the episode on that cliffhanger. Where will you go? So at the end of every session of Hit the Streets, Defend the Block, you get the opportunity to get some experience points. Everybody loves a little bit of XP. So we will work through a few questions. There are some questions for each of you as individuals, and then there is questions for the team. So let me jump down to the document. I had accidentally closed it just a moment ago. And we will go through those questions. Give me just a second here. Oh, I apologize for not having this up. There we go. All right. So at the end of every issue, the entire table of GM and players discuss the following questions. Did you clash with someone who threatened your neighborhood? That's an easy yes. Did you avoid open warfare that endangered regular civilians at least once?
Well, we stopped him before he got to the apartment complex.
All right, I'm good with that. Did you defeat a villain or have a conflict with your rival team? Think so yet. Okay.
We had a vague suggestion of it, but I don't think we actually got into direct conflict.
Yet. All right. So each of you will get 2 XP. And then there are individual questions. So this one I'll go for a round. I'll start with wild card and I'll ask you both questions. Did you struggle with your normal day-to-day obligations?
Not for this one, no.
Did you support another teammate when they needed you?
I'm not sure if I directly supported anybody this time.
Okay, cool. So then you have 2 XP total. Next is copycat. Did you struggle with your normal day-to-day obligations?
I don't think. No, I wouldn't say that.
Did you support another teammate when they needed you?
I don't know. Maybe not directly either. I might have just got. I don't know if I qualify for that either.
You started to lean into it, and but yeah, I agree with you. Not quite yet. That's cool. So Wraith, did you struggle with your normal day-to-day obligations?
No, it didn't really come up this one.
Yeah, I think you were the closest one, but this is pretty action-packed, so you guys didn't do any day-to-day. And then did you support another teammate when they needed you?
I don't really think so.
Okay. And then Glitch, did you struggle with your day-to-day obligations? I don't think so either, right?
Nope.
But I do remember you supporting other teammates. You spent at least twice. You spent Spark to help other people on their roles, and that definitely counts. So go ahead and mark a 3rd XP for yourself.
Cool.
XP, you will continue to build it up, and you can use XP to improve your mode, your stat, or gain a new power. And I'll throw those into the character keeper that used to be there, but I think I hid those rows, so I'll put another copy in there so you have a chance to see what those cost and how to get them. And that will bring the game part of our session to a conclusion, but I always like to do a little bit of roses and thorns. So we've got just a few minutes. We'll just go with 1 thorn and 1 rose for each of you. Thorn is piece of critical feedback, something that was a little confusing, or maybe something that you are disappointed wasn't in this session. You want to make sure we highlight for next session. And then roses are where you give an attaboy or a thumbs up or highlight a particular moment of play. We'll start with thorns. Chris, why don't you go first for thorns?
I want to see a lot more ridiculous gadgets come into play from Glitch. We got to see one, but I want to see all those crazy gadgets she's got hidden.
I like it. I like it a lot. Cool. And so, David, what about you?
Man, I don't know. I can't think of anything particularly I could criticize this time.
Okay.
Might have to come back to you guys later if I think of anything.
No problem.
I think that's a good sign, theoretically.
Yeah, I think so too. John.
Thorn for myself for forgetting the recharge mechanic. When asked, I should have suggested somebody come with me to the beer garden and prompted a bonding scene.
That could have been a great opportunity. I was leaning towards it, and I've almost said, here are how you refresh. So little thorn on me for not being clear to say, hey, here's an opportunity for it. So I'll definitely take that. And then Joshua.
Yeah, I think this is more of kind of a time thing, but I do want to see more of our day-to-day lives, like our non-super stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. So I will stick with you, Joshua, since you went last on thorns. You get to go first on roses.
I'm going to have to rose wildcards crazy magic because if I'm going to throw out some more gadgets, then I want some more crazy magic. So
I agree. I love that we have a super technical person and a super like junk magic person. Like that juxtaposition is so cool. It's what makes for interesting ensemble teams. I love it. So John, what rose would you like to hand out?
Rose for just the variety of characters that are in it. I can't wait to see more of the interaction and how each person goes in like their own different way, but can do similar things. And yeah.
Yeah, it was. It had, and I would say this in a good way because I happen to like it. It had a Teen Titan feel to me, like the comics Teen Titans, of how we had a lot of different influences or styles of stories that could be told, different genres that mix in and bleed with you guys, which is awesome. David, what rose would you like to hand out?
Yeah, I think I was worried at first because I'm like, oh no, a cyclone person. How am I going to deal with this? But then, especially since we as a team defeated that guy so quickly, I was able to like, oh wait, there's plenty of stuff. What was I thinking? I'm going to sneak into this guy's apartment.
Yes, and I was so happy that you were like, I would oppose this so-and-so person. Like, yes, perfect.
Yeah, that was fun.
Good. And then Chris, bring us home. What roses do you want to hand out?
Oh, I really like the team. I love the neighborhood we came up with. Like that, I like the whole package just fits together so well for something we all just basically cobbled together from separate little strings of our own little crazy BS tonight. I thought that was awesome.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we are going to end on time, and I'm blown away. This was a great kickoff of the session. Folks who are watching this on YouTube, if you have any questions, feel free to let us know in the comments. I'll be happy to address those, chat it over with you, clarify anything that you have questions about. The Kickstarter is still live and will be for the rest of the month of July 2019. If you're watching this in 2020, sorry, but hopefully you can go get it somewhere else. Thank you guys so much for playing and giving this a shot, and have a good rest of your night, guys.
Thanks, everybody. It's great.